Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Hummel Insurance Group for sponsoring today's show. Hummel Insurance Group now owns and operates 7 different offices located throughout the tri-state area. For over 50 years now, the Hummel Insurance Group has been assisting customers with insurance needs and questions. For all your insurance needs, contact Hummel Insurance Group at 812-537-1785.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families, here with my very... You are in a strange mood today, Merrill Hutchinson.
My sleep number was high again. I mean, how can I not be fired up?
I think I'm going to fire that thing because it said I had a great night's sleep, and I was tired today.
You're a little grouchy.
I'm not grouchy. I'm just a little tired. That's all. There's a difference.
You're just not used to getting such a well-rested sleep.
I didn't feel like I got rested, but...
Yeah, but your number says otherwise. So see, your numbers
whatever.
don't lie.
Yeah. Well, hey, if this is your very first time listening to us, thank you for coming and tuning in, and welcome to Rock Solid Radio, the crazy show.
By the way, welcome to Rock Solid Radio.
Yeah, but hon, I'm still a little giddy about last week. I was like,
I feel a little bit like, okay.
No, I'm kind of like a Roseman groupie. Like, you know, I've read so many of his books and his articles, and I'm just like amening his stuff. I mean, when I read his book, it's got like highlighter all over the place. It's just, I love it. It was a great show.
From the early days of me listening to him, I often thought my parents would never read this guy. And the reason why they would never read this guy is because they'd say, duh, you have to write this in a book?
Exactly.
Yeah, like right. Seriously. And I think that's why I read it, because I was starting to read so many other things, and it was acting as if everything that happened for many centuries before was ridiculous and not working and hurtful and destructive. And it's like, no, I think just because something's old doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, you if you don't have any idea what we're talking about, you'll have to go tune in last week's show where we had a very special guest, one of our mentors in the coaching field and parenting expert, John Roseman. He has written 20 books. He has a syndicated column, over 225 columns, I think he said, all over the country, in newspapers all over the country. And he has just been, we've seen him live, we've worked with him in some coaching things, and he is just one of those pioneers that honestly was talking about the woke culture and the progressive parenting style way before we ever really saw it come to fruition. And he kind of warned us it was going to happen if we didn't do some things differently.
Yeah, I would like to say that, we have a lot of proof that says that the new stuff and everything is great and awesome. But the fact of the matter is, as he points out, it's like we are seeing some very dangerous and scary trends, and we're actually seeing the results of that. And so I think it is time for us to just be humbled and take a look. I think, hon, this is something that, as you walk deeper in your own understanding of faith and humanity and how we work, how we are by our nature so arrogant. We, because we have letters after our name, because we have degrees and stuff, we sometimes think that people aren't as smart. Like the people before us were not as smart because they used outhouses and because they, would walk to work, or they'd have to be a farmer. And I really just think that arrogance, that intellect is Satan's way of completely confusing us. And it's not to say that we shouldn't seek education, but education without God as a foundation can be very dangerous, because it grows the wrong crown.
Yeah. Well, we're just here to say we don't have all the answers, and we definitely are a work in progress. And yes, we have some education behind us and a lot of years of experience, but we are sojourners in this journey with you, and we do look to God for our answers.
Sojourners. Wow. So see, now I feel educated.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm talking about. Like we're in this with you, and we know that we don't have all the answers, and we're not perfect at this, and that includes our topic today, hon, because it's kind of a little bit of a segue from, I think, what Roseman says in a lot of his work, and really it's this whole idea of perseverance, endurance. Like, versus insanity. Like, when should you give up? When is it too much? When do you just stop beating your head up against that wall and give up or move on? And we're going to talk about that today, because we really are experiencing a culture today where it's literally a throwaway society. Like, you just give up on your car, which we've done a lot of that.
So we can't speak about that one now,
Refrigerators, marriages, kids.
We haven't done that one yet.
We haven't done that one yet, but not yet. We're not going to do that.
We can't use that one.
But, that's our society today. We just don't even fight for things. We don't endure through things and work and persevere. And so we're going to talk about that. When is it perseverance and when is it insanity?
Man, so this is good, but it also hits home in a lot of areas. Before we get there, let's thank our sponsors. Let's thank Hummel Insurance Group and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of Rock Solid Families and Rock Solid Radio. So these guys have been sponsoring and supporting what we do, and it's just purely because these are family people. Both of these groups of sponsors are family people. They see the value of that, and they, if nothing else, are what we would like to be able to push out is, let's do what we need to do to keep our family strong. Because when you keep the family strong, you have a much greater opportunity for a stronger community and as we grow out to a larger society and culture. So thank you guys for sponsoring us.
If you're listening to this program on the day that it posts, then maybe you still have time. We are in our last week of Families Rock in Batesville, Indiana, and Monday, April 25th from 6:30 to 8 p.m., we're going to be presenting our last of the series, and it's going to be called CORE, and it's the critical assets that our kids need to succeed. So we would love for you to join us if you do listen to this on Monday, April 25th, 2022, because we know there's an archive here that people go back and listen to. I had someone the other day said, they just discovered us, and they've gone to back to the very beginning, and she said, you guys know you have a lot of shows? Because we were on the radio back in 2018, I think it was.
It was, yep.
And so it was Rock Solid Radio. And so, if you go back to the very beginning, there's a lot of shows to catch up.
There are.
I don't know how far she's gotten, but it's really kind of cool to hear that.
It is good. Also, though, we have an announcement. So part of what we talk about in one of our Families Rock evenings is parenting in a tech-heavy world. And so the Purpose Workshop, which is a workshop that is put on by Church on Fire in Harrison, Ohio, is going to be offering, that's April 30th from 9 to noon at Church on Fire. And they're going to actually be bringing in a specialist, an expert in the digital world. And from the way I gather that, Hunt, they're going to be actually talking about what you can do as a parent. Lynn, you and I, we talk a little bit more about the philosophy about how we protect and making sure, but we do not act like we're experts to know what software to download on your computer to protect and how you monitor. But this person is going to be coming in and saying, okay, here's some things you need to know. And I think this is eye-opening. I think you have to do this stuff every year because the things are changing. We, at the beginning, back in the fall, we went to a training on drugs in our community. And the terminology, if you don't understand terminology of what your kids are using, there's drugs potentially right under your nose, the terms that they're using. And because the terms change so quickly, you may be like, what, were you just talking about eating, candy or something? And, and here's a term for something else. And we find out with our own kids that they're using terminology to speak a certain code, and it's right under your nose, and you may not even know it.
Yeah, so April 30th, Saturday, April 30th from 9 to noon, I will actually be there as well, speaking to parents and then to teens. And then an organization called, I think it's Protect Your Eyes, is going to be there and talking about software and servers and things like that you can put in place to protect. That's not our forte. We are technologically challenged.
Nope, lucky to turn the switch on today, guys.
But we do know the repercussions of what technology is doing to our kiddos. So we'd love for you to join us on April 30th. So, Hun, this subject of perseverance and really versus insanity has been a recurring theme for me. And we've been dealing with this, whether it be with clients, whether it be speaking, whether it be in some of our shows. How do we deal with life's ups and downs? Like, how do we help our kids deal with persevering through life's challenges? And so, when does perseverance turn into insanity? Those are just some things we really want to tackle today, because we're not saying we have all the answers, but it is a conversation that I think is worth having.
And I think at the very base of this premise, you really have to understand what perseverance is, and what the opposite of it is, as you talked about before, the throwaway society. And if you don't wrap your head around this term, the phrase of instant gratification, you won't really understand how it interacts with your perseverance or your ability to persevere. And so if you then go to instant gratification, you really have to understand, and this is from a biblical perspective, you have to understand the force that your flesh has, that your fleshly desires. And we speak of this frequently because it is such a part of our battle. It's our daily battle. And so I am going to confess, before we came down, I ate a sprinkled donut. I never eat sprinkled chocolate donuts. And it sat right in front of me, and I said, "You think I can eat one of these?" And I had no ability to persevere. I just fell. And my taste buds were the happiest things on earth for all of a minute.
This is confession time.
Hey. But, and so, it sounds like such a simple thing, but let's move that into other things. How about an uncomfortable job situation?
Yeah.
How about an uncomfortable relationship? How about kids whining in the back seat? And we'll do whatever we can to shut it up as quickly or to change it as quickly as we can, because it's unpleasing to our flesh, right? And if we don't understand that, the power and the force in that, we really won't wrap our head around, like, well, why persevere? Or why? Like, that just sounds like a silly thing to do, period.
Or a difficult teacher or a tough coach, those things that, as parents, we end up kind of jumping in and rescuing our kids or saving them from that trial or that tough part. And really, Hun, Scripture has a lot to say about this, about perseverance. So why don't you read for them about Romans 5?
Yeah, so in Romans 5, 1-5, it says, "Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we boast in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings." Wait, did he write that right? Okay. "Because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us." That's why God's Word is so important, because you could read this in a lot of different self-help books with some slightly different terminology, with slightly different examples, but it is so basic to the core of God's Word that we're always saying, like, okay, like, skip the self-help book and go to his Word, because it really boils it down there, like, so this perseverance and then this character, like, I can stick to it. I'm not going to give up on the things that I value and that are important.
Yeah. If you look at the NLT, the New Living Translation of that same verse, Hun, in verse 3, it says, "We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance." He doesn't use the word perseverance in this translation, it says endurance. And endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope doesn't lead to disappointment. And so it's like, it's the trials, it's the problems, it's the suffering. It's what causes the perseverance and the character and the hope. It's not just winning or succeeding. It's the trial. It's the journey that is part of it, the sojourner in the process.
Well, and to know that you can come out on the other side. That you actually can see through things, and you can come out on the other side. And I will tell you, I think one of the greatest gifts I ever had was being an endurance athlete through swimming. And prior to the swimming days, I was into baseball and football and those kinds of things. And I love those sports. But I don't know why, but I connected very early with the perseverance, like going through long practices and wondering in the middle of a practice as you're staring at the bottom of a pool and you're dropping in 6,000-7,000 yards and your coach is saying something and you're like, Oh my gosh. But then when you get out and you feel like, wow, I survived that. I made that. And I think even to this day, I still enjoy the endurance sports of cycling and things like that because, a lot of times it's a super hot day. On a super hot day, what do you see me do?
Oh, my gosh. You want to go out and sweat some more.
Yeah, and you're like it'll be 95 degrees, and I'll be like, oh, this is a day. And I know it's not going to be comfortable, but there's something in it that is strengthening way more than the muscles. It's like, I'm going to go out, and I'm going to hang through that, and it helps me sharpen the sword.
Yeah, okay, so here's the confession for me.
I confessed donuts.
I know you did. You confessed donuts. I'm just going to confess I'm a wimp when it comes to physical endurance. As a matter of fact, when you met me, I was a college athlete, and I think you thought I was going to be your workout partner.
Yeah,
and
it didn't work out.
So when you were running your triathlons and your mini marathons and all that stuff, half marathons and biathlons, and you thought I'd be your partner, I was a great sag wagon.
Yeah.
But I'm a wimp when it comes to physical endurance. But I understand that perseverance in difficult times is important. And I know how important it is for our kids. And we have adult children now who I believe, and really, hon, a lot of it is a testament to you and how you didn't save our kids. You didn't really rescue them from difficult things, that you help them realize it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you try and take risks. That's where perseverance and character and hope is going to come from.
Yeah, I just think it's such a gift to our kids. And whether you get it through your coach, through sport, whether you get it from grandma or grandpa, or when whatever the experience is, the idea that you start to help your kids go through a challenge, and that means not rescuing. And so let's put a backdrop on here. This is always under the understanding of common sense and safety.
Yeah,
sure. This is not, and this is where the extreme always goes out. Like, will you let your kids go out and die? No. So please, we're not even going to have that conversation. The idea that I'm going to let my kid fall and get a scuffed up knee. I'm going to let them go through a difficult season. I'm going to not save them when they come home and they're whining about a teacher. And instead of me calling the teacher, I'm going to say, well, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
All right. So that they start to dig in and become problem solvers and persevering to develop their character. And guys, we will go so much farther down the road with helping them be successful in that.
I don't even know where we were, hon. We were recently having a conversation about someone older than us who went through the Depression and how they were persevering through difficult thing. And the person said, well, it's because they were a depression baby and that they were used to difficult things. And I thought, wow, we're losing that generation of people who have learned to persevere, who've learned to go through difficult times and came out on the other side. And so they have a different perspective. And so if we don't allow our kids to have some difficulty in life and endure and persevere, then are they ever going to realize they can?
Yeah.
Are they going to get those muscles, those endurance muscles like you do when you have those physical activities? Are they ever going to learn to build those?
I think it's a craving, actually, hon. And it's a craving of the human nature to be able to persevere. And life used to, and in many places, make you have to do it.
Yeah.
And because we are so blessed by the people who've come before us in the United States, that we have struck such a level of comfort that now we have to artificially put opportunities for perseverance in. Now we sign up for things called mud runs. Now we enter
endurance runs,
marathons, right? Now we intentionally go and get into fights with people in a ring so that we can learn to endure. Whereas if you went back 300, 400, 500 years, these were part of life.
Yeah.
And so again, the idea that we still naturally desire to push ourselves and to get through it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a message to us, like, what is that about that? Why would somebody want to get into an MMA fighting match? It's like, well, because they're actually trying to build something in them that they felt was lacking.
Yeah, and hon, you said we've been blessed, but we also need to think, is that the way the enemy is working in our lives to kind of make us soft, to make us lazy, to make us complacent, to make us ungrateful. And that's, we've just been given more and more and more, and we want more and more and more. And so, I've heard that people in the third world countries, many of them feel blessed by the fact they don't have all those distractions.
Well, complacency is what the word you said there, hon. And I think that's the thing. I can become so somewhat comfortable in my life that I lose track or get distracted.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, as an adult, are you taking risks? Are you focusing just on the outcomes instead of, improving over winning? Are you stretching yourself and showing your kids how to persevere when things get tough? Acknowledging when things are tough, saying this is tough and I don't have all the answers, and showing our kids that even when it's tough, we still are going to stand for our convictions and do the right thing. Hun, just yesterday, and I'm not bragging about myself because I was definitely having this inner turmoil. I went to the store and someone undercharged me for things. Mm-hmm. And I was in a hurry, of course. And so I get in the car and I realized that didn't cost as much as I thought it was. It's because he didn't ring it all up. And I was sitting in my car having this conversation like, okay, it's going to take me an extra 10 minutes to go in there. He's probably not even going to understand why I'm coming back in here. And he's going to think I'm stupid, but I'm going to go in. And I literally had to realize I needed to go in there and I needed to do the right thing and pay for those things that weren't charged to me. And I think, how many times we're just like, hey, it's, their loss, their problem.
Oh, I actually would have celebrated that. I mean, there was
like,
a time in
right.
our life when I actually would have been like, guess what happened, guys?
Yeah.
And Hannah, you bring up a very important point. So it's easy to talk about perseverance in the sense of the physical, but perseverance in the values that you believe, that you claim to have.
Stand for,
the convictions that you have in that way, I think is every bit as important. And, I will tell you, we just recently purchased a car, and where we bought it, I mean, it was offered to us that a lower price would be put on the title. It was just, and it wasn't forced or anything. It was like, well, I'll write whatever you want. And I can tell you, not too long ago, I would have said, oh, what a great deal. I can,
fudge it.
I can cheat Uncle Sam here, and I can go ahead. And I looked at him and I said, there would have been a day where I would have certainly done that, but I am trying. And I got to tell you right now, I'm really tempted, just like that donut. I'm really tempted, but I'm just telling you, like, I just don't want to be part of that anymore. And so I had him write down the actual number. And as you said, I don't want pat on the back, right? That's just doing the right thing. So it's pretty weird that I would be seeking a compliment for that, but that's the digging in deep. And here's the worst part. Like, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, the flesh.
It's still not of my nature.
Yeah. And so, for your kids, if you're a parent, are you praising the efforts that your kids make, even if they fail, or are you just looking at the outcome and looking at the wins? And so we need to teach our kids that we want them to take risks. We want them to try their best, even if it does mean they lose. I remember the very first wrestling match our second oldest now, had as a youngster, and he got out of there and said, I felt like I was getting thrown around like a rag doll. But he went back and he persevered, and he went through junior high and then high school and ended up loving the sport and doing very well. But man, if we had just said, you're done after that first loss, then he never would have experienced that perseverance.
That's one of our greatest stories of perseverance, actually, because it actually got us to go to the other side of this. He kept coming back, and we've shared the story before. Guys, I'm just going to be honest. He was terrible. And Zachary, you know what I'm saying here.
Oh, okay? Zach, we
joke about it now. We have so much fun with it. But he went through 5th grade year, 6th grade year, and it was brutal. He was getting beat. He didn't win a single match.
We kept thinking, how about tennis?
And we started to say, we said, you do not have to do this, because it was like, are we beating our head up against the wall?
Is that insanity?
So we were questioning ourselves as parents. And he went to a final meet. He went to a state meet. I've shared the story before. He qualified for the state meet. You had to be in the top 3, and he qualified because there were only three people
guys
in his age group. And so he qualified, and I'm like, so do you want to go to state? And I'm like praying that he says no. And he goes, yeah, I'd like to go to state. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be brutal. And guys, up at state, he ended up getting third at the state tournament there, and a switch flipped.
Yeah.
Something flipped, and I remember calling you saying, "Hon,
I'm
not coming home. Like, I got to go get a hotel and spend the night."
Yeah.
And so the answer was very difficult to say. How far should you persevere?
Yeah.
But I think if you are persevering with the right values and you're running things by God's word and you have the right attitude about things, then perseverance, we don't know when you should stop, okay? You need to be glorifying God.
Yeah.
And he was trying to use his talents, and we were checking ourselves. We wanted to make sure he wasn't doing this for us. And we were giving him every permission to quit. I mean, not in season, but hey, when this season's over.
Try something new.
Yeah. So it is a tough thing, and we're not going to say, like, at what time do you finally say, I'm done with this job?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so, for our kids, are we saving them from natural consequences? Are we bailing them out too early? Are you sharing stories of how you've persevered, how you failed? We do that all the time at the dinner table. That's why I love the dinner table, because it helps us to share stories of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they need to hear that. They need to hear that you failed, that you got last place, that you got thrown around like a rag doll on the wrestling mat. And so we got to praise our kids for giving things a try. And again, insanity is if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so maybe try something new, try a different approach, get help. I mean, one of the greatest things that we see in our coaching office is people who are coming in saying, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to try. But we know that we don't want to give up in our marriage and our children and our family, but we need some help. We need some new tools, new approaches. And I think that's perseverance. Insanity is just keep doing what you're doing and thinking that that's going to change things, So do something different, but doesn't mean you give up on the relationship or the task or the problem.
I think those are great points. So, to just scale things down, perseverance is not a bad thing. It is a good thing because of the character it builds in us. And when you have character, all right, authentic, good character, you start to have a hope that you can trust that things are going to work out, that there is going to be a way. You trust your own skills. You trust God's work in this. And so don't be a stranger to persevering. And even, I would say, challenge yourself by going out and put tests in your life. So many people now, because maybe in certain areas they've got it fairly easy. So don't become complacent with that. Maybe you do sign up for a marathon, or maybe you take on a challenge in something that you thought, well, I don't know if I have the ability.
Yeah.
Push through and throw those challenges in your life.
Hun, I do want to say this because I was just talking to some students, a group of students this week, and I was reminding them that, hey, we are in a stage in our world today that Christianity is a minority. And so you are literally having to persevere just in your faith, just being a Christian, just being allowed to worship and speak about his name is becoming harder and harder to do. And so I was trying to build those muscles up for those students to let them know, hey, you're going to have to persevere and stand up for what you believe and be able to speak with conviction and persevere through the ridicule, maybe the mocking, maybe the closed doors that come because of your faith. So just let your kids know, and you also, that Christianity is something that is getting tougher and tougher. And that's where we're going to really have to persevere and find our hope in him alone, not what other people say or pats on the back from people.
All right. So I hope that you guys find this is a refresher of an idea of just checking yourself, checking your kids, checking how you're interacting with your kids and helping them, not by solving and bailing them out, but by challenging them, by saying, well, what are you going to do about this? And to stick through it. Because remember, we're not trying to make our child happy in the day. We're trying to create strong followers of Christ that will then create better people for all of us and followers that will hopefully create a better and stronger generation to come. So please don't give up on that. Guys, we want to ask for you to listen to our shows, share our shows, give us a 5-star rating. It helps us bump up on the search engine, so we need your help with that. continue. We get word of mouth reference all the time, and we definitely know that that's the most powerful reference that we can get. And so if there's something, a show, something that we're talking about that you think has been helpful to you, please, share it out to somebody else. We need your help in that.
I had somebody just the other day said they stumbled on our show, and they had no idea we even had a podcast. So please share our show, put it on social media, share it with a friend, let people know that this exists, because we need more messages like this and help for each other to really endure this race that God's called us to run.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we'd like to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and the Hummel Insurance Group for continuing to support Rock Solid Radio. I'd like to thank all of you guys out there. And so I also thank you for listening to my donut confession, and I will do better next time to keep the donut out of my mouth. Now it means I have to go run an extra mile or something, but I will work on that. So let's go out there and let's continue to build a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.